we continue our BeNeLux tour with the Be and the Lux part, Belgium and Luxembourg. Medieval cities filled with chocolates, banks, cheer, and of course, if Yuri has anything to say about it, beer. Join us as we go up, up, and away.
So we are on a train right now. We've just left the Netherlands and we're headed to Belgium because we are going on an adventure in Bruges. Now, I don't really know very much about Bruges except the movie and that I like waffles. So let's go figure it out together.
Only knowing Bruges from the movie In Bruges, we were excited and a bit nervous to get to explore it ourselves. I mean, have you seen that movie?
Crisscrossed by canals and cobblestone streets, the famous city is a wonder to behold. Some of the architecture reminded us of Amsterdam, but the city has a much quieter and more peaceful feel.
This handsome gentleman is Jan van Eyck, a famous Flemish painter who painted in Bruges during the Renaissance. You may be familiar with his Ghent altarpiece or Portrait of a Man.
Towering over the beautiful medieval architecture, the belfry of Bruges stands at the heart of the city and is surrounded by a bustling market square.
Or as Brendan Gleeson would say, it's a long way down. But enough in Bruges references. Tara said I could have one, and that was it.
That's it?
That's it.
I could have spent our entire time hanging out in this delightful market square at the foot of the tower. In fact, we ate many of our meals in the restaurants with a view of the belfry. But enough looking at the outside. What would be a trip to Bruges without climbing the tower?
No bats in this belfry that I could see. But the mechanical mastery of the inside of the tower matches the architectural elegance of the outside for sure. We always learn something new when we travel, and I had never known that Belgium was known for its delicate lace. Here I always thought it was just for doilies, but check out this intricate work.
Now on to something we did know Belgium was famous for. Chocolate! There were chocolates of every shape and size and filling. Some for me and some, well, more to Yuri's liking.
So we're smack dab in the middle of Bruges right now, and the one thing we can't find is chocolate.
Did you say that we're in Bruges?
I did. I said we are in Bruges. We are currently not in the movie, but we are in the middle of the city of Bruges, which is a fantastic medieval city, and I'm in love with all of it. But what I was saying is the one thing we can't find is chocolate. Who am I kidding? Literally every 3 stores is a chocolate shop. So we have purchased some little bits of chocolate. I'm so excited. Look at how pretty they are. Okay, here goes. It's filled with speculoos. We also bought some nougat, which I will also try. If I can get into the bag.
Okay, so if Tara gets chocolate, then I'm gonna look for some beer. And Belgium is known for it. Unfortunately, as sometimes happens when you travel, I came down with a bug and was out of commission for our first day in Bruges. But luckily I bounced back quickly and should be able to take on a beer or two. For the show, of course. Everywhere I turned, beer. Beer and more beer. There was even a museum for it. I found some I was familiar with and others I had to try. I mean, come on. Look at some of these names. How could you pass them up? Louis, Prairie, Mariage Parfait, Hercule, Cantine, Mongozo, Homer, Collier, Malheur, Deus, Le Mort Lapin.
At the Beer Museum, they had a tasting room where once again we plied Yuri with all sorts of tasty treats. For the show, of course.
So what we've got here, we're at the Beer Museum in Bruges. And we're at the bar. And they've got a lot of different kinds of beers. They've got some sour beers, which I haven't tried yet since I've been to Belgium. And I'm excited to do that. But I couldn't stop at just the 2 sour beers, so I had to go for 4. What we've got is a sour cherry beer based on a lambic. We've got a Rodenbach Grand Cru, the complex red-brown beer, matured 2 years in oak casks. The Palm Hop Select is a hoppy with a taste of caramel, apparently, and an Uda Lambic, which is spontaneous fermentation. It's a flat beer, matured in oak, which is also a sour beer. So I'm gonna start here with the Grand Cru. That's really nice. I'm gonna go. Let's see, I'm gonna go this one. It's interesting with no bubbles in it at all. Also a very sour beer. You go from that sour to this sour. It's sweeter with a cherry flavor, and I'll end on hops. Also good, not very fizzy, these beers, which is really nice. Apparently you're supposed to eat it with cheese as well, so probably should have had a cube of cheese in between each one. Maybe I'll just eat all the cheese and drink all the beer.
After our trip to the beer museum, we took a walk to clear Yuri's head and see some of the rest of this lovely city. Then it was time for us to fill our bellies and bid adieu to a magical place that we already can't wait to come back to.
So here we are on a train to Luxembourg from Bruges, and as it turns out, we didn't know this before, but we inadvertently ended up doing what's called the BeNeLux tour, which is Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, BeNeLux. And we did it not quite in that order, but I'm going to count it anyway because NeBeLux, actually, I like NeBeLux better. We did the NeBeLux tour. So Bruges, again, beautiful. We're headed to Luxembourg, which apparently is the third richest country in Europe. Who knew? All the banks are there, all the money. I don't think we're going to actually see any of that money, but apparently it's also a beautiful and old, gorgeous place as well. And we're going to see, for Tara's birthday, which is today, I mean, it won't be today when you see this, unless it takes us a year to get this episode out. Let's hope not. We're going to see the band Casemates, which is who are a Norwegian band, Tara's favorite band. So we're excited to see them tonight, and whatever else the city has to offer, and then it'll be our last stop on this trip. But luckily we're on this fantastic train because this is something that Europe does very well. So learn from this, United States. Trains. Trains.
Our first stop in Luxembourg was a visit to the Royal Palace, the Grand Ducal Palace, in fact, in the heart of Luxembourg City. We didn't take a tour, but we gave it our best posh waves as we walked by.
Because of its location and particular geographic layout, it sits amid deep gorges cut by the Alzette and Petrus rivers. Luxembourg City has proved itself highly defensible and has benefited militarily throughout history, making it, apparently, a safe place to keep money. But the city is not only rich in finances. As you can see here, these fertile valleys are abundant with a different kind of green.
Now, we could have just gone to visit some banks, but that's no fun. So we decided to descend into the well-preserved archaeological site of the vast Bock Casemates medieval tunnel system. Yuri, you go first.
Besides making for a great defense, the tunnels in these cliffs allowed us unending views of the beautiful valley below. Take a look.
So we are off in search of Pfaffenthal, which we're pretty sure belongs to Yuri and I, because that's kind of a combination of our last name, and it's somewhere.
It's almost Pfaffenthal.
It's almost exactly Pfaffenthal. So it's somewhere down that way. So let's go try to find it.
Maybe they'll give it to us.
Yeah, the keys to the city, right?
Right? We can show documents that we have no documents. This map is our document.
These tiny turrets jutting from the cliff where we least expected them were a constant source of delight.
This is the river that runs right by that, the one we kept looking down on when we were at the Casemates.
I guess we weren't going to get the keys to the city after all, so instead we decided to get a bite to eat. But first, we were going to need to get some money to pay for it.
This is the kind of bank we withdrew our money from, but this is the bank we wish our money were in. The historic Spurkis, or State Savings Bank headquarters. This bank looks more Wizarding World than Wells Fargo to us.
But let's be honest, banks can be boring. Luckily, Luxembourg knows that if you're going to work hard, you also have to play hard, and we stumbled across the most marvelous playgrounds.
Yeah, I guess sometimes you have to be a kid to figure out how these things work.
You want to have one of those little kids show you how to work it? Oh no, oh you sit on it.
But not to be deterred, Tara got back up on the horse. Swing. Whatever that is.
And Yuri indulged his inner pirate by swashbuckling his way across the ship.
On your mark, get set, go!
Luxembourg is so cool, they even have apiaries in their public parks. Buzz, buzz. And the weirdest, most terrifying scarecrows to protect the bees I've ever seen. Yikes.
But with all this play, we had worked up an appetite. And rather than stealing into this garden for snacks, we figured we should probably go foraging a little more lawfully.
So we scaled walls, climbed hills, traversed rooftops, braved balustrades, marched down narrow streets, corded canals, until we finally found beer.
Beer? Wait, I thought we were looking for food. Luckily, they had that too, and coasters with which Yuri honed his bar skills. And finally, dessert.
You like the cream puff. I like the... I hate it. Cheers, and thanks for joining us on our NeBeLux trip, which was supposedly BeNeLux, but we reordered it. It was a blast having you along on the trip to Amsterdam, and so that would be the Netherlands part, the Ne part, and then Bruges, which would be the Be part, the Belgian part, and then ending up in Luxembourg, which is just the Lux part, because that's all there is. This is a very small place, this country. We learned a few things. We learned that summer in Europe, or at least this part of Europe, is a little colder than we had expected, so we had to buy a couple extra sweaters. We learned that the food is certainly not as bad as people warned us. In fact, it was quite good. We ate well, and that we're moving to Bruges. So, sorry, I think this is our last one. No, I'm kidding, this is not our last one. Come up and away with us again on our next episode, and here's just a little hint as to what that might be. Cheers.